So, in Chapter 4 for business management, we looked at managing in a global environment and sort of the different areas along the lines of that. So, for the first thing that we were to discuss was define the concept of business globalization. So, basically, globalization is the movement or the flow of certain things between countries. So these certain things could be things like trades, investments, information, cultural ideas. These are all the different things that come together and make up what globalization actually is, and it's the flow between countries. There are a lot of advantages to globalization. Basically, countries, businesses, and even the people will benefit through interdependence. Along with that, expanding trade is something that is very important, and opening global supply chains. When globalization and trade between countries happens, it gives countries a chance to get resources from another country and utilize that. So there are a lot of advantages when it comes to that. I know in North America we have the Free Trade Agreement, CUSMA or USMCA or whatever it is. The Canada-U.S. Mexico agreement. So this is just different, basically an agreement between these three countries that have different laws and regulations when it comes to the free trade, but like amongst those three countries. So there are different things like that. European countries have one, and it just helps make things easier in a sense and more friendly to the people. So the next thing that we were to look at was explain the concept of a global mindset. So basically, a global mindset basically means for managers to basically absorbing information sort of from other countries around the world. This can lead to advantages based off of the way other people do things. So it's kind of getting an idea of how the other countries work in the business world, and to make an impact on the environment all around. This can have a lot of pros to it. Like I said before, there are a lot of advantages. Basically, you can combine your speed and compare it to other companies when it comes to manufacturing and things like that. Just little things like that can provide a competitive advantage. The last thing that we were to discuss is explain the process for going global. And actually, sorry, before I get into that, when it comes to a global mindset, there are three different types of dimensions. There is the social dimension, the psychological dimension, and the cognitive dimension. Those three things make up a global mindset. So when it comes to the process of going global, there are many different ways that you can do that. So basically, you can produce goods domestically, and sell internationally. That would mean going global. You could produce goods in a different country but sell domestically. That would be going global because you're producing it in a different country and then bringing it back. Or produce goods in a country and sell in a different country and sell domestically and internationally. So those are three different ways that a business can be going global. There are different strategies that you can use when it comes to going global. You can be like exporting, which would be basically you're producing it in your country and you're going to sell it to a different country, or sell it in a different country or whatever. That's definitely a big one. There's global outsourcing, so this is basically when you're going to produce it in another country. When you do that, it's usually for labor cost reasons, or even potentially because of the resources that another country has, and it would cost too much to bring it over here. So you produce it in that country, and then you can sell it back domestically or around the world to other countries. And then there's also partnerships. One example of a partnership would be a joint venture. This is when companies share costs and risks with another firm. So those are the three things that make up sort of the steps, the different areas in going international or going global. There are some challenges that can be encountered when it comes to going global. Basically, when you do this, you could lose some advantages in your host country. This would be looked at as a legal political challenge. If a government changes a law or taxes or other regulations, this can affect your business and how you go about things. You could lose assets potentially, or managerial control. There are also socio-cultural challenges when it comes to going global. When it comes to something like that, a lot of times people can think that their own country and their own culture is superior. This can cause a lot of problems for obvious reasons, but one thing it can do is that people may not want to buy your product if you outsource, for example. A lot of times, especially in America, people want things to be American made, locally made by local, things like that. But that's not something that always makes sense for companies financially. So that's another risk that can be when it comes to that. Yeah, so basically that's it for chapter 4 in business management.